Hello, welcome to Say Something Serious. Today's episode is called Mother of God, and we are going to talk about the intersection between motherhood and spirituality and some of our philosophies on motherhood. I'm here as a expert. I have my auntie mug and my auntie bracelet on. I bought both of these for myself. um, still still waiting for my props from YouTube.
Dropping hints.
I got it.
Today we're joined by Ashley Nesby. She is a tech person by trade, I would
Sure.
say. That's
Yep.
big enough.
Yeah.
And most importantly, the mother of my niece and nephew and my sister-in-law. And obviously, Mindy is also a mom. So I wanted to start today. I thought it would be fun for me to tell you each something that I really admire about you guys as mothers, like something I've noticed that you're doing with your kids that I just find really interesting and inspiring and has really, in a weird way, kind of like healed something in me watching you guys enact these, uh, specifically with my nieces. So the first one is I really love the way that you, Mindy, have, I guess, framed or helped Chloe understand likability. You like draw a line between liking and showing respect and being kind, like that you have to be sort of nice and respectful and kind to everyone in your class, but if you don't like them, like that's not a big deal. I think a there's something toxic that a lot of us have to undo as we get into adulthood about needing to be liked and everybody liking us, and you know what I mean. And I see you like consciously not burdening her with that, and I wonder if that's conscious or something that you did on purpose.
It is 100% conscious because I do not want her to fall into the same trap of perfectionism that I fell into. Like you're saying, like we're kind of undoing some of what happened to us. And I don't think it was conscious. Like I don't think our parents were like, we're going to make you try to be perfect. But it was like, you want to be liked. You want to be likable. You want to like everybody else. And that was I feel like a big part of my identity as a child was like being likable. And the truth is that it's impossible for everyone to like you. It is impossible for you to like everyone else, but it is a really good skill to develop to know when you're uncomfortable around someone or to know when you're you just don't feel the fit, and teaching our kids to listen to that and also still interact with kindness. I think the key, obviously, with the young ones is like you still have to be kind to everyone, but it's okay that you don't want to be friends with everyone. Will be great for her, hopefully, later in life when you're like dating and in tricky social situations. Like, ooh, this doesn't feel right. I know that. I know that feeling. I was kind of told when I was little, it's okay, to like just be nice and keep moving, right? Like it's not even just for now, but like for later in life, I think more importantly, trusting yourself and what makes you feel comfortable and having some comfort in setting a boundary with kindness.
Yeah, I think about how kids naturally like mirror, like in order to teach her like that she doesn't need to be liked, you also have to like make it be okay that she doesn't like something, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I I just love how that plays out in her life, like that, like even you, like, oh, I don't think that mom likes me. And it's just like, we're not going to do anything about that. You know what I mean? Like, but it's just
What do you mean? Everybody
okay.
likes me. I don't even know what you're talking about. No, I'm just kidding. Says like the old version of me. Right. Like not everybody has to like me. That's okay. It's
Right.
not easy. Like I can't say I'm like so happy people don't like me, but I accept that like you don't vibe with everyone and you can't
Yeah, and
force
that
it, you know?
part of how you teach her that is that you let her not like other people. Like you're like,
Yeah.
you don't have to like them. Like we don't like them, right? Like there are kids that like you don't like, and you actually don't want to teach your kid like to want the affection of shitty kids, right?
I would not call any kid shitty, but um you do you, girl. I think an important part of the whole not liking someone is also leaving an opening for change. Like, right now, you're not friends with this person and that's okay. Or right now, you don't want to be. Also, people change and your relationships will change over time. And you might learn something new about this person that you do like later. Like, I always leave an opening for like, nothing is set in stone. It's not concrete. Our feelings are fluid. I mean, they're young, right? They're going to go in and out of relationship with each other. They're going to have conflict. They're going to make up. And I think my role for her in that is just supporting that, like, you can trust how you feel right now, and there's also room for that to change, right? You might come around and they might show you something different about themselves, and you might learn, hey, I actually do like this person,
And unless
so
you've actually done something to somebody, what, sorry, I jumped in on this, but
yes,
unless you
come please.
actually have like wronged somebody, the message is always the way other people feel about me is none of my business. And so you don't have to concern yourself with how other people feel, unless, of course, you've done something in which you need to correct it. But if you haven't, and that's just someone's feeling about you, it's really none of your business. You move
Yeah.
on.
I love that. Yeah.
And when I think of like your kids are still young, but I think about like how scary needing to be liked becomes when girls get to be like teenagers and college age, like how many bad situations we all, I'm gonna bring us all into this, made
Mhm.
in our lives, like parties we shouldn't have stayed at, cars we shouldn't have gotten into because we were like, well, they're not gonna like me. You know what I mean? Like people take risks if they're girls, especially, are like encouraged subconsciously to take risks that they really shouldn't take because what if people don't like them? And when you say like, that's not like safety is more important than likability, like getting that ingrained in a girl's mind, I feel like is so important.
Especially as they get older as well, with little girls in particular, a big part of, let's say, like middle school age, a big part of being liked is based on how you look as well. And so what I don't want my little girl to do is try to alter how she looks, whether that just be like physically or even on the inside, based on what she thinks another group looks like, or like the popular girls, or like the ones who are liked, what they look like. I don't want her to feel like she has to change herself, aesthetically or otherwise, to be part of the group that is liked. And if you can start to insert that early, then when she grows up, it'll be, I don't look like them, I don't talk like them, whatever it may be, and which means they don't like me. And to Mindy's point, that's okay, that's fine.
Right.
Hmm.
It's
You
not
And
the
move
I
on.
most
think,
important thing.
Mm-hmm.
well, the most beautiful thing is that she, if we can, I can't say like, I think that my daughter's never going to fall into that, because I think it's typical phase of growing up is wanting to belong.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can encourage them to show up as their most authentic self, and then they're still liked, even if they're a little bit difficult, or even if they're a little bit different,
Yeah.
right? Because like all
Yeah.
girls, we don't want to be difficult. We want to be easy. We want to be whatever. If they show up a little bit difficult or different than everybody else and they're still liked, then they really actually learn, I am likable, right?
Just
As
as I
I
am.
am. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be something that I'm not to be liked. I have
That's
friends
right.
who love me for me.
So now put Ashley on the spot.
My turn.
Do it.
Yes. One thing I really, really love and admire about the way that you raise your daughter is that I see you, I don't know what the right word is, if it's like controlling, because I do think you are anxious like we are, but you control yourself and don't insert fear into her experience where it isn't necessary. And
Mm-hmm.
the example of that, like, I think of is like, let's say your daughter's like running toward the ocean, right? And like, as like anxious people, me, my sister, you, we want to be like, careful, the rocks are sharp, you know? But like, but yeah,
Yeah.
don't, would like, look out for jellyfish, like whatever it is. Like, I see you stop yourself. I see you stop my sister. I see you stop me from like you're intentionally like, no, like we're not going to make sure that everything that she does, we warn her first about anything that could
Mm-hmm.
potentially go wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so beautiful, and it's like so healing for me to watch, because I'm like, what if, I know that like inserting fear is a loving behavior, like that,
Yeah.
like our mothers didn't purposely give us anxiety. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? They like didn't want us to get burned and didn't want us to trip and didn't
Yet
want
here
us
we
to
are.
fall. Right. And here we are.
Yeah.
And by like you making a conscious effort to like, bad things are going to happen. Like she might cut her foot on a rock, or she might see a jellyfish or whatever, but you're not going to like give her the pre-anxiety,
Mhm.
and just like let her learn like sometimes things go wrong and let that be
That's right.
okay.
That's right.
I love that. And I wonder like how that was obviously a conscious decision that you made.
Very intentional. Yeah,
How did you come
because
to that?
um well, growing up, my mom, love her, love you, mom. She did a great job. Here I
Yep.
am.
She did.
Clearly,
But
She did.
clearly.
she is afraid of everything. Like my mom has never driven a car, and my mom has never been on a plane. And both of those things we like take for granted. Get on a plane whenever we want. We drive a car. We tried to do it as soon as we possibly could. 15 learner's permit, 16 get the license, and like let's go and have that independence. But she is just an example of that. She is fearful of things that most people probably aren't, and it's just her way of trying to keep herself safe and control her situation. And in a car, she feels out of control, and a plane, she feels out of control. And so with me, growing up as what they would call like a wild child, there was a lot of fear that she couldn't control me to get me to do what she wanted me to do. Again, like you said, Erin, out of love, but like being able to control me meant she knew where I was and what I was doing, and I wasn't climbing too high on the monkey bars, and I wasn't too swinging too high on the swing, all of those things. But what that did for me is eventually fear breeds fear. And so it starts off as the swing, but then it becomes like, well, this person who's trying to be my friend, but should I be fearful of them? And then like it snowballs once you plant the seed. And so with my daughter, who is just like me and super adventurous, fearfully so, what I have tried to do is tell her to like watch out for like be cognizant of something instead of fearful. So when she's running toward the ocean, I'll say, watch where your feet go. So she knows that means there's rocks there. So like be careful where you're placing your feet. Or if she's in the ocean and she always says, I'm gonna swim to the deep end. First of all, it's the ocean. So like all of it's the deep end. I need you to
It's
understand
because
that.
you had a pool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
we had
Yeah.
a pool. So like kind of our fault. I'll say, wait for me. Like, don't go by yourself. Instead of, there could be like sharks out there, which is what like myself and my wife are thinking. And something that I have realized in like the past 3 weeks, I didn't realize I was doing it, but now I'm trying to be super intentional. Somebody that I follow said this, and it has changed everything for me. And it is, you're never, is in terms of anxiety, you're not experiencing reality, you are experiencing your nervous system. And that has shifted everything for me. So like as she's running to the ocean, the reality is she's going to be fine. She's going to go into the ocean. She'll probably stop at the shallow parts and she'll try to swim, and it's too shallow and she might go a little further out. But my nervous system is saying, be fearful. She could get hurt. What if she gets hurt and never wants to go in the ocean again? What if she goes too far? And even I feel uncomfortable going after her. But like if I'm going to take a step back and look at reality, she's just a 3-year-old running probably to the shallow end of the ocean, going to pick up a big rock and throw it. So I'm trying to be like very purposeful in that, and realizing that my fear or my anxiety as it relates to my children is not rooted in reality, but just my own upbringing and my own nervous system. Yeah.
I love that quote. And it kind of makes
Mm.
me think of the one, I don't even know who this came from. I do, but I can't think of it. The worst things that ever happened to you exist in
Mm-hmm.
your mind, right? Like all of these horrible scenarios that we imagine, or me, I can't speak for you all, but they can get dark. They never happen. It's never even nearly as bad as you think it's going to be, even when the bad thing does happen,
That's right.
you know?
That's
So
right.
it's like,
It's because it's part of our brain's
yeah.
job to warn us and our nervous system.
Yeah.
It's literally trying to keep you safe. But we usually make it out to be much bigger. And also, you've survived 100% of the hard times you've had. So like, remember that you 100%. You have done everything that was hard, or else we wouldn't be here right now. So the next hard thing, you'll do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the first time I saw this like play out, um, your daughter was like being athletic. Like she was like climbing something and running on something, you know? And I heard my sister be like, "Oh my god, like well, don't do, you know," and you were kind of like, "Yeah, she might fall." Like that you had to like coach me and her with like
I can feel
she
that
might
scenario.
yeah, like we're like she might fall, you know, and you were like, "Yes." Like
Yeah,
that is a fact.
it's a
And
possibility.
right
Yes.
now is a great time for her to learn that when she falls, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, because the longer you let it go, it's almost like it's better. We all know this consciously. Like, it's better to let them fall when they're
Yeah.
a foot tall than it is to like make them glass and then have their first fall be from 4 feet. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
get it conceptually, but you feel
In the
as a
moment, it's very
parent or an
different.
auntie, like they're so delicate, they're so small. Like, they're going to cry. And I remember you kind of just looking at us being like, yes,
That
yes,
is a
she
fact.
will, she will
It is a
cry.
possibility. Yeah,
Yeah, like
and
she
she'll be
may get a
fine.
black and blue, she may get a
Mm-hmm.
boo boo. Like all of these things are very likely scenarios. And you were
And
just
she will survive.
like neat. It was, she was fine. You needed to get
Yeah.
us to accept it, right? Like
Yeah.
that, like
Uh-huh.
there, yes, that she may get hurt. That is a thing. And I always thought, like, I remember thinking in that moment, like, that is why my sister and I are not athletes. You know, like you were an athlete. So you were like, yeah, like I'm going to run face first into another human being, and like
Yeah.
injury is not only possible, it is likely in the
Very
end.
likely. That's
But
right.
like you can't do a sport like
But like,
that
so is
unless
survival. We're gonna
exactly,
make it.
unless you
Yeah.
accept, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, like other, you know, if we don't want her to just end up in the arts like me and my sister, she's gonna need to like be okay with getting a boo-boo, you know? And
Nothing wrong with the arts if that's where you want to
yeah,
be. But
absolutely.
also, I think all of us, because I know who I'm talking to, staring at both of you in the eye, we both know what it's like, especially for little girls, when you're told not to do something and all you want to do is to do the thing. So I try to, with my wife, if we are telling her not to do it, with that strong willed little girl, she's going to do it, and she's going to do it when we're not looking. And then she's going to do it whenever we're not around. And then if she does get hurt, we're not there to help her. So, encourage her to try. It might be too high. I'll tell you the first time that's a little high. And then if you don't listen, and something does happen and you fall off and you scrape your knee, then you realize it's too high, but I'm also there to help you through it. And like for me, I think as a parent, that is my job. You are out here to explore the world. I will keep you from actual danger. You're not going to be running across the street without me, but I will be there when you inevitably fall. But I'm not going to make you fearful or give you anxiety, because that's just, pre-fear. I'm not going to make you fearful, because what if it doesn't happen? And then, again, it begets fear and it begets fear. And the next thing you know, she's afraid to go out and play and jump on things because, she saw that I'm afraid and now she is afraid. So, scrape your knee. That's why we have bluey band-aids. We'll put them on at the end.
I mean, could you have not done the parenting thing before me and taught me this before I was like an anxious train wreck as a new mom?
A lot
I,
of,
I
lot
did
of,
not
lot of
have,
inner work.
I mean, it's getting much better. But like, God, when she was a baby and a toddler and running, like yours, just
Mm-hmm.
athletic and adventurous. I mean, she's been glued back together here, glued back together here. You know what happens. But I didn't take, this is like, I feel like parenting introduces you to your shadow in a really specific way.
Mm-hmm.
I was going into parenting like, it is my job to keep her safe at all costs, And like, I think going through the IVF and having it be so hard to get her there made me come with like another level of intensity. Safety, safety. And I have had to learn, you know, when she was really young, like step back, like this, I can't do this to her. I can't do this to me. It was a journey. Now she is playing Gaelic football, which like she's on the path to following Auntie
Wonderful.
Ashley into the rugby world. Cause
I
I'm like,
love
they get
that.
kicked in the face. She
Hmm.
comes with bruises all over her. And, you know, she's like, look at this. I'm like, all right, you're good. Like
Yeah,
you'll
you're
be fine.
fine.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
and in most
But I couldn't
cases,
have
better
done
for
that
it.
like 7 years ago. You know, watch her,
It takes
obviously,
work
when
because
they're one.
as like parents and even aunties, like you said, our number one kind of reaction out of love is to protect them and wrap them in bubbles and not allow them to get hurt. And that just comes from a place of love and wanting to protect them. But, you know, doing it when it's not necessary is where you can start to instill fear where there doesn't need to be any.
Yeah.
And then you have the repercussions of that.
And you have then the benefit of being taken seriously. Like, I feel like we all have had maybe overprotective people in our lives, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's like when they act, when maybe you should take them seriously, you're like, that bitch is worried about everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they'll
Can't
know.
trust her. Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't want me
Yeah.
to drive. And yeah, you know what I
Right.
mean? And now she's
Yeah.
telling me not to go to a rave.
That's
Like,
right.
she hates everything.
Yeah,
Whereas if you
exactly.
like give them, if most of the time you're supportive, there's a higher
Mm-hmm.
chance that when you're being like, yeah, that's a bad idea, they're gonna be like, she
You'll
doesn't
stop
say
and
that all the
think.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
I just want to share this real quick because my child's kindergarten teacher talked about stranger danger a lot. And that really stuck with her. And I didn't know that was happening. That's not like, you know, the way I've had to explain it to her is like, that's not really a worry for you when you're with me. Cause, you know, like if we're in the store and someone talks to her, she's like, stranger danger.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not a
She's like,
thing.
this
You're with
is
me.
it. This
I'm
is
safe.
happening right now.
No, like stranger is a risk to you when you're with your mom, right?
Yeah.
That's
Uh-huh.
more like, hey, you're on the playground and someone approaches you. But again, it's like we don't realize these little things that people are saying, and it's not even always us, are like sticking with them and getting in their head. I'm like, hey, if you're with me and I'm talking to an adult that is being kind and friendly, like you're safe. There is
Yeah,
no
you're with me.
stranger danger. Like,
That's so funny.
I'm here.
But it's
Anyway,
just an
just a
example that they everything we say, they hear, and whether or not we intend for them to soak it up, they do. And without the tools to like have that discernment, then
right. Here
just
we
like your
are. And I'm like,
daughter,
how long has that been in there? Because now we're in
just
grade
brewing.
3.
Yeah.
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 Now
Just
you're
brewing
talking
in
about
there.
stranger danger from kindergarten? Come
Mm-hmm.
on.
Just like
Right.
I
And at the end
remember.
of the day, you don't want a child that's afraid to meet people, that's afraid of the world, like anybody
That's
I don't
right.
already know is a risk, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to keep them safe. Like, don't I feel like we were all 90s kids. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the fear tactics were crazy. Like,
Yeah.
we
Even the
thought, like, if
commercials.
we go to the park, yeah, I'm talking about the commercials. Like, a
Yeah.
man in a van is gonna put you in
Always a
The
van.
there.
candy.
Like,
Yep.
yeah, there was so much
Always a
creepy
van.
shit.
Always a white van with those small little windows at the top. And
Yep.
just like
God.
the ladder on the back. And just like, well, what if it's just a regular person who likes the
Yeah.
van? But like now you're like
Take a risk.
Now you're
terrified
a
of
van
van.
weirdo.
That's
Like,
right.
why are you bullying the public?
That's right. That's right. It stuck with us.
It did.
We always joke that, we're trying to break generational curses, but we truly are. I think that is one of the biggest points of, or like, not even points, but like the beauty and the privilege that you get as a parent is to all the things that you know in your heart probably weren't the best way to have been done in the past with you. It is now your privilege and you have an opportunity to course correct for our children. And that is just like, it's a comical way, but it is one of the ways that, stranger danger is, there are limits to it. And
It's
like the
very
white man could just
1990s.
be
Yeah.
the mailman. Yeah, exactly.
It's very
Exactly.
90s.
Maybe it's just my perception, but I feel like kids were looked at as like very one dimensional, and nuance was like,
Mm-hmm.
we're not considered like that children could deal with nuance. And I don't feel like millennials parent their children that way. I think there's some recognition that, like, you know, you don't have to talk to your kid like they're a dog. Like,
Yeah.
red
Yeah.
is stop and green is go. Like, you can be
That's
like,
right.
well, strangers when you're alone are different than strangers with
Mm-hmm.
mommy. And like even
Mm-hmm.
a 7, 8-year-old kid is capable of dealing with that nuance in a way that, like,
Yeah.
with us, they just thought we were like very one-dimensional creatures that needed very clear instructions or we were going to die.
When we were younger, our parents, like, the goal was to get us to through high school, get us to college, and make sure that we weren't like people who hurt other people. And like that was it. Are you fed? Are you clothed? Did you graduate? And then like, okay, I did my job. Now we're like, oh, they are small, but they're little humans. And I think there was a before it was like you are a kid, and here's all a kid is capable of, and like sit, stay, eat, don't do, and like that was it. And now we realize that they're just short humans, and they have all of these, like, there's some inconsistencies about them, there's nuance, like you said, Erin, to them, but they have just the same amount of complexity, if not more, than we do. And thankfully, again, generational curses and like trying to course correct, we know that, and we can feed more into them and interact with them as opposed to like barking at them and giving them kind of like marching orders. We are kind of like walking through life with them, which is very different than how I think a lot of 90s babies were parented.
To say on one side, yes, it was very black and white for me, but my mom, I think, did so much work to undo the way she was raised. And so I was raised from her side with like a lot of the kind of, I want to say maybe the like validation for being like a young human with a lot of emotion and a lot of complexity, which really helped me, you know, see the world from that perspective. And I think helps me with my child. And she would talk about that, like, hey, the way I was raised was like
Yeah.
this, and I'm not doing that. Like I had those conversations with her from when I was young, you know,
Yeah.
about many things. And I'm impressed because, you know, she was born in the 50s. So like to be someone, I feel like maybe ahead of her time in that way of like, oh no, that's not true. Whatever they were teaching me, that's not true. This is the way we're going to do it. So it was cool to see that, like, she was breaking the patterns before I knew what that was and telling me about it.
Yeah. Good on her. Because
Yeah.
I think she's probably the exception and not the rule for a lot of us growing up in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my mom broke curses, but they were
Mm.
not they just didn't they were not subtle ones. Like we have the privilege now to break some subtle curses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my mom was not going to raise her kids in abject poverty. That was a broken curse from many generations of her family. She didn't, you know, she protected her children from certain types of abuses that many of the women in her family had to deal with for, you know what I mean? I think every generation,
Mm-hmm.
that's the idea, right? Is that we're, you know, because we were protected from that certain kind of abuse, we have the ability to be like, let's think more about social emotional well-being.
Yeah,
But they
exactly.
were like I can't tell
And
you how many of,
likability. Yeah.
Yeah.
like, I know for a fact that some of my, because they've said it out loud, some of my aunts um think they did a great job because their daughters weren't raped. Like
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean? To them, like,
Mm-hmm.
that was like, don't tell me I was a bad mother. Guess what didn't happen to you? And on some level, that's fair. I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
that was their
Mm-hmm.
curse to break, and they broke it, and they did that consciously. They did that with a lot of effort and a lot of vigilance
Mm-hmm.
that
Yep.
they didn't have in their lives, you know? But, you know, when you're the recipient of that kind of love, you're like, that's how that was the
Yeah.
bar, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but for
Yeah.
them, it was, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
we what will we say? We honor our ancestors and all that
Mm-hmm.
they endured so that we could endure less.
And
Uh,
both are justified. Like the aunt saying, I
Mm-hmm.
protected you in this way, 100%. You're justified. Thank you for doing that. But also the child saying, like, there's like some gray area. Like we skipped some steps. There's like some other things that we probably could have thrown in there. That is also justified. Both
yeah.
of those point of views. Yeah.
I gave you two of that I see. Are there any other generational curses that each of you feel like that you want to share that you've consciously tried to break in your as mothers?
I can tell you one that I'm failing at. Um,
Okay.
Oh, I could do that all day.
the because we have to acknowledge the good and the bad. And there are still areas in which we are working through. Hot take. Just as of like 12 hours ago, yesterday, I lost my cool, which I try not to do in front of my daughter, especially, and yelled louder than I normally do. So like, if she's doing something, I'll like raise my voice to get her to stop. But I like yelled last night so much that it scared her. And we all know my wife wasn't real thrilled with it either. And I just had to take a step back and realize that that is one of the patterns that I am intentionally trying to not replicate in her life from like some of my past experiences. But it was like just a good reminder that we will fail, but it is up to us in that moment to for me that was a failing, to recognize that failing and then course correct almost immediately. So I like stepped out, my wife came in, and then I was able to come back in like 5 minutes and say, here's exactly what happened. You know how sometimes whenever you get really frustrated with mama or mommy, you will scream, you'll take yourself to your own room and you'll say, I'm gonna take some deep breaths. And then you come back and apologize. And she was like, yes, yes. And I said, well, that's exactly what just happened to me. My emotions got too big for me. I had to step out and take my deep breaths. And now I'm coming back to apologize to you. I'm so sorry I did that. I'll try really hard not to do that ever again. Do you understand? And she understood. And so it was just a really good reminder for me that if we fail in any way, it's not the end of the world. I could have very easily taken that moment to have like a pity party on myself. Oh my God, I can't believe I've like failed in this way. Like, what if I'm hurting her long term? Like, what if she remembers this for all the time? What if my wife is upset with me? But it was just, it's good to remind yourself as we do our children, you can make a mistake, you can fail, you acknowledge it, and then it leaves room for like growth or to move on. So as disappointed as I was in myself, I am equally as happy with the outcome.
I call that a win. I don't call that a fail in any way. I mean, so many things that you just said are so healing for her, especially the modeling of, hey, like you're not the only one that has big feelings. Even when you're an adult, you're still going to have big feelings. And look, that
That's
happened
right.
to me. And I'm just going to take ownership and I still love you and I'm still lovable, right? Like and you didn't say it, but like unconsciously, you were giving her so much just by addressing it, you know?
That's the hope. That is because there will be other times, she's 3.5. So there will be many times when I like fail or I lose my cool over something that happened. And so I want it to be a lesson for both of us. If that's going to happen for you, it's going to happen for me. But as long as we can come back together, recognize what happened and apologize, there will always be room for us to continue. And I love you and you love me. And, that doesn't change because of that outburst.
I love that.
Me too.
It was hard.
I feel like you and I,
It
Mindy,
is
had a
hard.
conversation a long time ago about like, I don't know if it was crying or something, like the first time like you cried in front of Chloe, that you were like, it was a long time ago, obviously, because your daughter's older now, but I remember you like your instinct was kind of like Ashley's to be like, oh, I never wanted to do that. But then you were like, actually, I want my daughter to know that like even adults cry. Like sometimes I'm sad and like mommies experience the entire range of emotions and that there's nothing, because she's going to cry in her life as an adult at work. Like you're going to cry. And if I shame myself for it, what am I modeling for her? Like that you should suppress all of your feelings. Like I remember it must have been a long time ago, but I remember you having a similar thing about like, she needs to know that like I have all the emotions too. That like mommy's not always like cool, positive,
Yeah.
happy,
Or like
fine with
Superwoman.
everything. Yeah.
Never overwhelmed.
Yeah. Ever.
don't remember this. That's no surprise. But it sounds true. That like I would be a little bit ashamed of being vulnerable because that like vulnerability has been a lesson that I am trying to, you know, work through. And it's been a challenge for a long time. Um, yeah, but to like be able to just model for her, it's okay. Like you'll be sad too, you know? We actually had I like happy cried in front of her this year a lot, like a really big happy cry. You know those ones where you're just like, oh, you know, it's ugly and whatever. And then she happy cried at the same time, and I was like, oh, you know, like it was really beautiful. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Emotion
remember
is a
like
beautiful thing. Yeah.
seeing your parents cry for the first time is like I remember it. Like I remember the first time I saw my mom cry and the first time I saw my dad
Mm-hmm.
cry as a child, and it was really jarring.
It is.
But I don't know that it needs to be. Like if they're raised with like the understanding, like obviously you don't want to do the thing that many parents, we're not going to call it any of ours specifically, but many
Mm-hmm.
parents will cry and then be like, you did this to me. Look
Yeah,
what you made mommy do. Like
that's right.
that's fucked up. But there are, if it's not that, then there can be healthy ways to like express emotions as an adult
Mm-hmm.
in a kid's life, as long as you're not like being like, here child, hold my emotions and take
Yeah,
Right.
ownership of my
and
emotions.
responsibility for them.
Right,
Yep.
they should be,
Yep.
oh, like, I'm also sad the cat died or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like mommy's gonna cry.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, it might have been that.
To go
Yeah.
back to your original question, because I went off track with something I think I'm failing at instead of something I think I'm good at, or like a pattern that I'm not trying to repeat. A big one for me and kind of governs my life in the past and still a little bit today, especially as it pertains to little girls, is appearance. And it is a mission of mine to make sure that my daughter knows that however her body is now and or turns out is perfectly fine. It is her body and it is strong and it is able bodied and it allows you to, run in the playground and swim in the ocean. Because a lot of times, and I think, thankfully with everybody's consciousness kind of increasing as like a humanity, people are being a little bit more conscious about what they say to little girls and how they speak about women's bodies in general, but not enough. And so
Not enough.
I want to make sure
It's hard.
she does not hear from us or quite frankly family, especially like grandparents and aunts and uncles, like, "Ooh, that was a lot you ate," or "You wanted a second plate? You just ate a lot of food," or like, "Ooh, I can't believe how big those legs are, those thighs are," like, or even like, "Look how big your feet are. Look how tall you are compared to like, another little girl who's standing next to her." Again, it's how they did things in the past, but it is my mission as somebody who struggled with body issues, basically because of how we talked about earlier. You want to like fit in and look and be liked. It's my mission to make sure that I not necessarily protect her from that, but instill body confidence and body love from a very, very, very young age. Plant that seed now so that it can grow. So that's one thing I think I'm doing right and being super intentional and purposeful with as far as it relates to breaking patterns, parental patterns.
Love that.
Love that.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
strong. I want her to be strong.
I was very resistant to, there was, I think people are over it now, but for
Hmm.
maybe like 10 years ago, there was this big, like, don't ever comment on the looks of a child thing. And I had a really hard time with that because I think that Kelly and I have an overabundance of confidence. And I think it comes from the fact that like our mothers and our aunties like told us we were beautiful constantly.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like we shouldn't be withholding compliments from children, like because the world is going to give them negative, people are going to say negative things about
Mm-hmm.
their bodies, especially women, like the magazines, like they're going to get those messages. But if they have like a strong foundation of like all the people that love them being like, you're so beautiful, you're so beautiful. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Not specific, like, oh, you look so thin or you look
Yeah,
so, you know what I mean?
that's
But
right.
just you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. I think is like, I don't know. I found it very helpful.
I think it's like what you pair it with. So like even my best friend would comment on my daughter a lot, how beautiful she is, and I would say, and I would add in and strong and smart. So like I just try to I'm always going to tell her how beautiful she is, but also you're so strong or you're so smart, and like making sure it's those things as well. So like if they have no choice but to latch on to what we say, especially if it's a compliment, because it makes them feel good. So why not give them like a breath of things to be excited and hold on to? And that's, you're beautiful, but you're also strong, and you're also smart, and you're real funny, and you're a good gymnast, and you're a good dancer. So trying to like sprinkle those things in, because I do think it's important. You know, Erin, we joke around all the time that like both of my kids are going to think they're just like the most beautiful, most special things to ever walk in a
Geniuses,
room,
because they
because
are.
we are constantly telling them that. So I want them to latch on to the physical appearance, but also the other stuff.
The other things they have to offer the world,
The
besides
other
being
things they
so
have to offer
beautiful.
the world. That's right. Like
Yeah.
their brains. Yeah.
Yeah. They're also geniuses.
They're also geniuses. I tell them that all the time. You are so do you know how smart you are? She'll be like,
They are also so loving. So loving.
hmm.
Like your daughter, oh my God. Just so loving.
Yeah.
We
She's
And your
very.
son, but like I just can't wait to like see him bubble into like a full blown personality, which is like already happening and it's so wild. How does this happen?
he's becoming one. He's one now, and I think a lot of how can I put this? We are being purposeful that he has two moms. And I think when there is a little boy who has two moms, whether or not people mean to, I think they are watching to see what type of little boy he grows up to be, because the implication is that without a male presence, without a father figure, he may not step into that what people expect, or like a stereotypical little boy, or grow up to be like a stereotypical little man. And so I'm constantly fighting like these like internal demons of like, I want him to be loving, and I want him to be his full self, while also trying to like fight off other people's perceptions of what he, or fear, it's fear, other people's fear of like how he might turn out, because there isn't a male presence in the house. Does that make sense? So I'm trying to like, sometimes I find myself trying to like overcompensate for the fears that I know other people may have about his upbringing, because there isn't a male presence in the house. And so what I don't want to do is like throw him all around the house to make him like manly, or like with my daughter, gently throw her on the couch. It's like we're playing, or like gently like run past her. With him, I don't want to be like shoving him and making him play football at age 2, because it will show the outer world that he can still be a rough and tumble little boy, even though there isn't a male presence in the house. And that's like a weight that I carry, and I'm trying to navigate, because I know that whether or not I like it, there are eyes on how two women can parent and raise a little boy. It's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. What I want to say to
Love
that,
to talk to somebody who's done that.
What? Done what?
Like already raised a little man with two
As
moms. Right? Because like I don't even know.
I mean,
Like
I
I
have
just
zero examples.
assume it's not like we're not raising him on a lesbian commune. Like there are men around. There are men
Yeah.
about. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry.
We have to like bring them
I'm
in.
just
We
kidding.
He
literally
has
have
Uncle
to ship them in.
Sean, and he has grandparents, and
Janet.
and
Yeah.
Uncle Lauren.
He has
Like
Uncle Lauren. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's not like
Yes.
he's gonna be like, "What is a man?"
Yeah, but I think there's fear, and even coming from like family members who will never say it, but I know it, that like bring him over here and I'll show him how to do X, Y, or Z. Or like, next time he comes in, we'll like throw the football around as though I can't throw a football. And it's
You were
coming
a
from a
college
loving
rugby
place.
player.
I know,
You were
and it's coming from
badass.
a loving place, but it's just something, as we're like speaking about things that we are trying to instill in our children, and patterns we're trying to break, and like burdens that we wear as moms. That is one. I want to make sure that he it's something I have to work through myself, not trying to like prove that I can be the best parent for him, even without a male figure in the house. It's very different from no one ever questions how I'm going to raise my daughter because
Yeah.
I am a girl. I am a woman.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense for them. It doesn't make
It's
as
a
much
little
sense.
homophobia there too, though, because
I'm sure. I'm talking about older
nobody's putting that
generations.
pressure. There's so many single moms.
Yes, there
Like
are.
there's so many single
Mhm.
moms, and nobody's like, well, I wonder what's going to happen to him.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
think
don't
it
know
must be like
whatever
the fact that
happens
there
to
are two of
40%
us.
of people without dads.
Yeah. And I have
You
the
know?
luxury of like my mom raised my brother as a single mom. And so I don't necessarily get it from like immediate family, but like on the outskirts, it is certainly there.
I think that's their own fear too, right? Like
Hmm.
the like trying to create like a hyper masculine little
Yeah.
boy with the whole like boys don't cry or boys. I mean, I worked in daycares all over Westchester before I had my daughter, and there was like families were like, no, no, our son can't play with the dolls at daycare. You better make sure.
Yeah.
Or our son can't
Exactly.
play in the play kitchen. I'm like, what? Men are chefs. Like, what do you mean your son can't play in
Yeah.
the play kitchen? Like, no, do
Hmm.
not allow my like. That's fear. That is fear. You are raising your kids from a place of love, and you are going to give them every opportunity to self express and be who they want to
Hmm.
be. And that is the goal,
And I think it just
right?
lends itself to like we as parents and aunties, we carry some worries and we carry some burdens on us that we're doing the right thing all the time for our children. And I think it's really important not to like necessarily bring a whole bunch of spirituality into this conversation, but I think it's really important that you have, as a parent, some sort of like grounding mechanism or some sort of outlet, because if you there's so much pressure on you to be everything to everybody at all times, it will certainly weigh you down if you don't have some place or somebody to like help offload some of that. So I'm grateful for that. Not to bring
Yeah.
the
I think
No, no. I mean,
you're leading us to
spirit into it.
exactly where we wanted to go.
Hmm.
I think that modeling is really important in parenting, like almost more important than our intentions. And to bring this back to me, I think one place that I model really well for your children is in body positivity, right? They
Hmm.
will see an auntie who is plus size, who is
Hmm.
loved, who is not ashamed of
Hmm.
her body, who other people are not commenting on her body,
Right.
there's not like, because in a lot of families, that's a thing. Like, we talk about Auntie Erin, like the fat auntie, like that is a really
Yeah.
toxic thing that will not happen in our families, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they'll be like, oh, well, everybody loves Auntie and she's, not skinny. And so
Hmm.
it's not, they will not see that like being skinny equals being lovable, right?
Hmm. And also, you're
But
not
one,
always going around talking about your own weight, so they're not hearing that from you. They're not. You're like not commenting on your own body all the time in front of my kids.
Mhm.
right, right. And I'm like constantly in bathing suits in front of
Yes.
them. And like, we're not like doing that thing where I'm like, like
Yeah.
it's not,
There's
we
a lot more
model
of
that not
that
being
out
a
here.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We don't talk about it.
Hmm.
Which I think is good for them to see. Like, it's just not a thing. But I would worry about my influence, and I have to. This is a place that I need to grow. Is that I now there's a boy, and I have to make sure that I am not talking about men the way that I talk about men
Hmm.
in front of your son,
A soon to be
because
man.
that would be negative modeling,
Yeah.
right? Is that
Wow.
like that I have, I don't, the only man in my life is your husband, and I'm like, he's fine, you know but he's not an impressionable little baby, and if he gets the
Hmm.
messages that masculinity, that being a man is a bad thing or a toxic thing, or that they're
Hmm.
inherently dangerous, or any of the kind of toxic ways that I have a tendency to speak as a radical feminist,
Hmm.
like that would be an effect that I would not want to have on your
Right.
son,
Hmm.
that
Well,
I have to
I
think
I
about.
appreciate you for even being aware of that and saying it, because you being conscious of that means that you are way less likely to do that or speak that way. in front of him. And I think that it's important to recognize our own, not necessarily, it's not a failing or a weakness. It's just realizing how our actions or our words, whether we're parents or aunties or uncles, how impressionable those kids are, and whether or not we mean for them to take this one thing we said and run with it. Stranger danger. It like lives, we plant it, and it grows. So, I think the fact that you're even aware of that, I never even thought about that, but thank
I
you.
hadn't either. That's great insight.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Another project I have to get under.
I have.
Jesus.
I thought about it.
Listen, I guess we're all
I thought about it.
unbreaking
I'm like, I pride myself on having no men in my life, and now your son might be
now
the
you have a
love
very
of my
important
life.
man.
Like,
Maybe
I think
he is in love with you. For
we're
sure.
in love. Like, he looks at me like the way I've always wanted everyone to look at me, like with big doe eyes, like I am his hero.
You're the only person that he picks up the FaceTime and kisses the phone for. The only one.
And which is like, I think God has a sense of humor. Is what I think it is. To bring it back to spirituality, like God is forcing growth on us all the time, and
that's right.
Here's a man who just loves you unconditionally about men, and now my favorite person on earth is going to be one.
I mean, how many times have you had these conversations with Sean and him be like, Erin, you can't generalize, and you're like, oh, no. But like, here, you're going to learn your lesson. You're like, I'm going to generalize.
All it took was a nephew.
Or I'm going to, I have a choice to make. I can expand my worldview, or I can be one of those toxic people that's like, not my nephew.
Yeah.
All the other boys.
I'm going to vote for the former. I'm going to vote for the former. The expansion of worldview.
Same.
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Speaking of God.
Yeah.
One way in which you guys differ is that your spiritual awakening and awareness came pre-children.
Huh?
And I'm pointing at Ashley. I realize.
I know. It looks to me like you're pointing at me.
Yeah. Ashley's spiritual awakening came prior to becoming a mother. And Mindy's really came after being a mother, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that was just divine timing, or do you think motherhood sparked a spiritual awakening in you, Min?
I think it's all divine timing. But I do think, again, like motherhood for me really brought out my shadow parts. Like I was someone who like really wanted to be liked, and that meant not being difficult and not emotionally expressing and not having a lot of needs. And then you throw in like being a mother on top of that, and it's like your whole world turns upside down. And again, like with the intensity that I brought to it, was like, I don't need anything. I just have to give this child the best life there possibly could be. And whatever my ideas were about that didn't really factor in that I had to take care of myself in a deeper way. And so that led me to being unwell, really, like physically. Like my body was screaming at me to pay attention. And somehow, again, like it was the conversation with your mom when she was like, why don't you try meditation? Like, why don't you go listen to this and try this thing? And like, as soon as I did it, I was like, oh, whoa, there's so much in there. And then that was a little scary, right? When you spend your whole life avoiding your emotion and your vulnerability and your neediness, which like was really there. It's really in there. It's scary to see it for the first time, but then like slowly unpacking it over the years and learning to connect with it and learning to express it. And also, again, like this ties back to the likability piece. I think I held this belief that like, if you're needy or if you're emotional or if you have needs, that is being difficult. I think what was healing for me is like learning to express these emotions and then still being loved and still being, actually, if anything, and like it brought more, right? Like to my relationships, because then other people are thinking like, oh, I'm getting more of the real version of you. And then they also feel like they matter because I'm willing to be vulnerable and invest. I don't know. Am I going way off track? But this whole thing is that spirituality for me was a lot about self-connection and getting to know myself. And that opened me up to then experiencing way more of the world and the universe and what there is. Like it just got rid of so much fear.
And being able to give more of yourself as well
Yeah.
to us, to people around you, and we were able to see. It was like you broke open, and we were able to get like the full gamut of Mindy,
Scary in
and
there.
not just like the like perfectionist part. It was like all like, oh, Mindy can be vulnerable. Like Mindy has these emotions, and not like the super mom that we saw you. We got to see all these different layers, and it's been fun since this like awakening has happened. It feels like a reintroduction of you, and like you and I were able to connect on ways that we just hadn't been able to in the past,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Thank
Do
you
you
for
think
saying that.
that wanting your daughter to be able to be a full and dynamic human being with all the positive and negative aspects led you to need to accept those things about yourself? Like seeing her
Yeah.
and saying like, even when you cry, even when you're hard, you are loved. Was that like a mirror to say like, wow, like
Mm.
I need to love me even when I'm hard or even when I'm sad. If I can, because I definitely believe that this little girl should be.
Yes, definitely. And just my beliefs about the world and life and humanity in general. I mean, I really, really believe we're all worthy of love. I really believe that, of course, we have difficult parts, but that, like, if we're nurtured and we're loved, I mean, I don't even know. I don't know. I'm sidetracked. But
That's okay.
what was the question?
Well, let's move to Ashley.
My brain. Yeah,
You
let's do that.
you were deeply spiritual prior to having children. How has your spirituality and thoughts about God, the universe,
Mm-hmm.
evolved since becoming a mother?
So I knew like very early on that I had this connection with universe. God and universe are like the same, one and the same for me. And it kind of went in and out, faded in and out, depending upon like where I was in my life. Because I think with spirituality, it's only as strong as the time you dedicate to it. And so, especially with being like an athlete and then being a parent and then like professional life, there really isn't a lot of time for it. And so I had to be very intentional with like in between meetings. If I had 10 minutes, then I go out back and I put my feet in the grass and I connect to the universe that way. And one of the ways I'm trying to instill that in my daughter without saying, here's the time when we pray, or like, her not understanding what meditation is kind of like what we talked about before with having that time to reflect if something goes wrong. I'm trying to help instill in her that there is peace in stillness, and that's like one of the big lessons I've learned about spirituality. If in that moment I'm upset or I'm frustrated, just having that time to be still, that's how I connect to the universe, and I get the signals and the download that I need. Because I can't explain that to her, I'm trying to plant the seed that a lot of her emotions, and when she feels out of control, when she's like repeating the same thing that she needs over and over, and I can see her becoming dysregulated, I'm trying to instill in her, come outside with me and let's just sit for a second. And I think that's like the foundation for, after we sit for a second, then like maybe you and I can talk about it. And then after that, maybe there's like, if you think about how you and I talk, maybe you can talk to the stars in that way. And then as she gets older, do you ever wonder like what's beyond the stars? Then you can start to talk to whoever or source in that way. So just like trying to lay the foundation. And I think it all starts with stillness. And it took me a long time to learn that. So I'm trying to implant that in her at a very young age. And it seems to be working, and that she'll take herself to her room and close the door for 5 minutes and come back out. So I feel like she's starting to understand that. And we're just trying to keep it at like her level of understanding. I'm not going to talk to her too much about God and the universe just yet. But if she understands there's a place she can go within herself, then I'll start to layer on like what that means and the power that resides in that stillness. So one thing at a time. We're at the beginning blocks right now, laying the foundation for her.
Do both your kids pray?
Mine does.
Mine does
Now we
not.
do. I think, Erin, I think it was at I don't know, some dinner we had at the house, and Sayla grabbed our hands and wanted to start praying, and you were like, "You guys pray before dinner?" And we were like, it's like, Yes, we do. We pray. I grew up saying grace, and I introduced it to Kelly because Kelly wasn't really, she's going through her waves. And now Selah, if we say, okay, we're getting ready to eat, it's time to say grace. Dear God, thank you for this food, for our family. Da da da. She like wants to hold hands now, which I didn't institute, but she likes to hold hands, and she also likes to have her own prayer at the end of it, and it's usually like, thank you for letting me be nice to my dogs. Thank you for letting Cleo speak to me today. Thank you for letting me ride my bike with Kieran. And then she says, Amen. So we're like teaching her that it's just a conversation. Who
It's
you're
like a
talking
gratitude
to.
practice too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like what you call whoever you're talking to is more just, yes, exactly. A gratitude practice and giving her the name for things like saying grace or saying prayers that she doesn't have right now, and then she can decide what she wants to do with them. But I like that she is now making sure that we pray, whether or not she knows exactly what it is. There's a place for that to grow in her, should she want to. So what about you, Min?
So
Does your
sweet. I think it's a little bit tricky because she's in Catholic school, so like there's prayer happening there, and she's like just in a little bit of a phase of resistance, like I'm just letting it be.
Yeah.
Don't push it. Yeah.
Has
I also
has
didn't
she
grow up
voiced
with
resistance?
any yeah, I don't want to like get too much into it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just one of the phases of I
Mm-hmm.
think I want to encourage the freedom of figuring this out in the way that works for you, not in the way that you're told everyone else is
For
doing
sure.
it. So
Mm-hmm.
like modeling for me is the stage that I'm in, right? Like I meditate, I practice Reiki, I am grateful, and I try to like bring that into the moments, especially when we're outside together.
Mm-hmm.
But and like the signs, she really is a fan of like looking for signs. That's like that's a big part of my way of
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've
conversation with the
also seen her
universe.
like offer healing and Reiki
Mm-hmm.
it like
Yeah,
to a friend who got a boo-boo or something.
Oh
Like
my
she'll
goodness.
like, put the band-aid on
put the
and then
hands
like lay
on.
hands on. It was
Yeah.
just very cute.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Be
I
So I
still
don't
my
know if I
remember
heart.
would say it's prayer, but like the communication is there, and I'm just
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
letting it happen.
Yep.
However, it's gonna happen.
Yep.
Kelly she went through a phase where like around Chloe's age where she got very anti-church
Mm-hmm.
and there were two issues going on. One was that her best friend was Muslim, and somebody at church told her he was going to burn in hell, and she's not about that life. But I think if we got really right down to it, it was about tights. And I remember like being in my house, like being like 6 and she was like 7, like she was like throwing the biggest fit, like running on top of her jungle gym, like I will not put the tights on because she really just didn't like how she had to dress to go to
Huh?
church. She liked the social elements of it. She liked
Mm-hmm.
the
Right.
snacks.
Yeah.
This is
She
where
She's
they're
like,
even
why
she
at
don't
that
they say
age.
come as you are? What happened to come as
yeah,
you are? She's
yeah.
like, why can't I just wear what I want to wear?
At some point, my mom dressing us in matching dresses, she hit
Yeah.
her limit
Yeah. She's like,
and
I've
That
had
she
enough.
tracks.
blamed God.
Yeah. I feel
And
like God doesn't care if I wear pants, Mom.
that
You
was
know?
her rebellious phase. Like,
Yeah.
if Jesus really loves me, then why do I have to wear
Yeah.
tights?
Yeah.
I'm like,
And
I
Mom is
get
like,
it.
because I said
Tights
so.
are torture.
Yes, they
Like,
are.
that's God's first torture of women
She
is
knew early. She knew early.
tights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Love for
she
her.
ended up living in a convent. So, in her 20s.
Like
So,
I
Yeah.
said, comes and
Sisters
goes
in
in
Christ,
phases.
sisters for life. I remember that T-shirt.
Sisters in Christ, sisters for life.
Sorry, Kel.
Kelly
I
was
love
a
you.
teen for God.
She was.
Yeah, we have our phases.
Someday we'll interview Kelly about God once she figures out what she thinks.
There it is. Yeah.
Hey, it can
She'll be
keep
Rapid
open.
fire,
changing.
I'm just going to pull some cards and see if
Okay.
Okay.
any questions come up from Spirit about the topic.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll wrap. Do you guys, are there glimmers even at your kids' young age of what you think their purpose is? Like what their growth on the planet will be? Or do you think that it's something that's still unfolding?
I'm gonna go with my first gut reaction. I feel like it's still unfolding, and maybe that's just because I'm still learning all the different parts of her. but I wouldn't be able to like pinpoint exactly what I think, as I'm imprinting my own purpose on my child, what I think that her purpose is. I think that it is still unfolding. Give me a year, I might have a better idea. What about you, Min?
Yeah, I mean, same. I think it's going to continuously be unfolding and she'll pivot at certain times. And I want to encourage her to like not get stuck in one idea of what it has to be, but to be open. But if anything, I think that will be a part of it, is just like, I think she's going to be like a little bit of a one that like shakes things up a bit,
I love that.
you know? Like, I
Yes,
don't think she's
please.
going to fall. I don't think she's going to like fall in line. I think she's going to be a little, like a shaker.
I don't think either
I
of
don't
them
know.
are. Yeah. A
What's
rule
the other
breaker.
word?
I'm all
Yeah.
for
This
it.
is a fun one. What is
Mhm.
something that you were like absolutely sure about that you had to reverse course on? Like
Everything.
something like as a parent that you were like, I'm going to do it this way. And then you were like,
Oh,
no, I'm not. Just one example of something you were like had to be like backpedal on that you were sure was going to be a thing.
For me, it was TV time, and that is like we had a plan. You know, me and your sister, we are planners. We're planners, and we had an idea, a plan of like how to engage our children without the need for a television for a whole bunch of reasons. Out the window almost. You know what, to be fair, we lasted like a year and a half. So like during all that time was like a lot of books, putting her in front of a lot of books, a lot of music, because I love music. So but then it eventually got to a point where like we have to get things done in this home. Things have got to get done. And so we just leaned in real hard into like educational TV. But if you would have asked me prior to, or even the day she was born, will your kid watch like TV before the age of like 5? No. What do you mean? I have the resources.
Screen free. Yeah.
Yes.
And then you're like, I have to do the laundry. Watch Miss Rachel.
We have things to do.
Watch Miss Rachel.
Let Miss Rachel teach you ABCs or reinforce it. Please.
We didn't have her. We had Coco Melon, which sucks.
That's TikTok for kids. But
Yeah,
Mindy, what about you?
I know. Sleep.
TikTok for kids.
TikTok for kids. Sleep.
Cookers.
I had a lot of ideas about like, my child's not going to sleep in my bed. I am not co-sleeping. They are going to sleep in their own bed all night. My guy is like, I was sure of it. And I really did fight it for a long time. Like, I'll walk you back to your bed in the middle of the night. I'll walk you back to your bed in the middle of the night. I'll walk you. And then I was like, I am not sleeping. Just get in the bed.
Yeah.
Just get in the bed. Like, I know. And, and then we had to undo that later. But, like, it's fine. They grow out of all of these things. So you're just like, why am I fighting this battle with myself? Nobody else cares.
We're trying to prove something to ourselves. Like, we're trying to stick to the plan.
Yeah. And then my life was so much better when I was just like, oh, I'm not going to wake up. You just, like, if you need to come in, just get in, because I got to sleep tonight. Like, I can't do this 4 more times. Like, because sometimes like 3 times a night.
That's right. I mean, you both know that my daughter is in my bed. We're trying with all of our might. We actually so how timely. Just yesterday, finished putting all of her like favorite sheets on her bed. We're going to get her up there. We said they're a little sick, so we're going to try to get her up there in the next 2 days.
It's hard.
But 3.5 and just in the bed. Again, something we said we weren't going to do. And yet here it's just better for everybody. If you just
I think sometimes it's like, we're going to survive. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to survive. We're going to put this crazy belief down, and we're going to survive.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's better if you have a well-rested parent than the alternative. So let's just all close our eyes and we'll deal with it tomorrow.
Amen. Yep. Yeah. That is
then
it.
Tomorrow's like, they're 7 and you're like, yeah, gotta figure it out.
Okay, you're like, I believe in you. You can do this. 12. Okay.
What have you forgiven your mother for since becoming a mother?
Hello? I thought you said we were wrapping. What do we have, 3 more hours?
Just one example. One example of the way that, like, once you became a mother, you were like, oh, I got to give my mom a pass on that one.
Mindy, you want to go first?
Sure. Everything. Everything. Like, no, yeah. I'm really serious. I'm not. It is harder. Okay. I don't know if this is going to make sense, but like as a kid, things were sometimes really hard for me. And then like the situation between my parents, right? Like it was challenging. And then what I realized as a parent is how hard that must have been for my mom to sit and watch and like be powerless in. Like, and she was trying. It's not like she wasn't trying. Everything. Just like it was equally as hard for her as it was for me. And I'm not kidding. Like I know that now.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Everything.
I think I have forgiven. The biggest thing would be, and I guess through myself as well, how much I judged what she, how much I compared her to the parents of my friends. And with that judgment came some resentment as well. Um, and as you know, a wild child, 15, 16-year-old, a lot of things that I probably said that I should not have said that conveyed that disappointment. And now I realize that she was doing the best that she could with what she had. And I had an incredibly full and rich childhood. But you know, when you're growing up, comparison is a thief of joy, but you don't know that. And so you're like, well, why do my friends have this big house and these two cars and I'm in this apartment and like my mom doesn't even drive? Or like, what, you know, why do I have to get a job at 15 so I can buy clothes for myself and shoes when, you know, my friends that they now have a credit card in their name and we just go to the mall and they shop. And so in those moments, now as I say them, they sound very kind of obviously shallow and not they're not the deepest problems that you could have growing up, but in that time it was a lot of comparing to my peers, and judging her for not what I consider to be doing better so that I can have the same things they have. And now I realize in my, you know, 42 years, she was doing the best that she could. And really I had a great life. And so I don't know if I ever said sorry for that. So maybe that's something I need to say to her. Thanks, Erin.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Mother of God.
And those are the
Mother of
things,
God.
by the way, that a teenager's brain is focused on. It's not that it's not emotionally deep. That's like that is the life of a teenager. Those
Yeah.
things, right? So it's
Yeah.
not like, and you know, their brains are not fully developed. So
Yeah, and if you add
you learn.
a little smart mouth that I had, just the combination of the things, I
Who
probably
you?
made it a little worse than others.
Right.
Yeah, me.
And I think as you mature as a human being, you also realize that like there are all kinds of ways that people struggle, and that just because a friend might have more resources than you
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make her life any less fucked up than yours
That's
is.
right.
You
Everything
know,
that
like
glitters ain't
That is
gold.
right.
you figure out, you know, not that like everybody needs to suffer, but everybody does suffer in some
Yeah, they
way.
have their own version.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
whether or not you can see it or not. And when you're that age, you see big house, cars, money, and you're like, they have it fucking made. Like that they
Right.
want for nothing. And you know, you aren't thinking about like it, like you said, internal struggles or even struggles that happen behind closed doors that you are privy to, nor is it any of your business. But that's just not what you're focused on. And you go home to your apartment, and you're like, what the fuck? Why are there 4 rooms in this house? And they have like a full basement
80 rooms.
and
Right.
yeah, and 80 rooms and all of the things. But you know, to your point, you don't everything that glitters ain't gold.
Right. And there are things that are more important that,
Yes,
you know, mom brought to the table,
exactly.
like, you know, emotional availability and
Mm-hmm.
mental stability and things that
Yeah.
like we all learned growing up, like our friends that we thought had everything would be like, yeah, my dad, you know, was mean to my mom. And we're like,
Yeah,
oh,
or
I'm
he's
so
never
glad
here. We have all
that
these
wasn't
things
happening
because he
to
works
me,
all the time.
you know, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
That's
Whatever.
Beautiful.
wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this with us. I hope
Thank you
you'll
for
come back.
sharing.
This is
That
fun.
was
It's
really
almost like
fun.
I forgot that we were recording. It's just, you know, 2 sisters.
It
Yeah.
is like what we do.
And you.
Yeah.
3 altogether.
Yeah. We just chat
Yeah.
for our 50 listeners. And they love us and we love them
51.
back. Thank
That's
you.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you
right.
for all 51 of you. Our dreams come true. Please
Thank you
Hey,
for
subscribe on
listening.
better than
YouTube.
7.
Please follow us on Instagram. And please go to saysomething.serious.com and leave us a voicemail so we can play it on the air.
We'll be waiting.
Love that.
All right. Love
Thank
you
you
guys
guys.
both.
Love you.
Thank you.
Bye.